Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of What If Civilization Started Over. In the last episode, we saw a couple events happening, such as the Danish Civil War across not only their mainland but their colonies as well. We also saw a war break out in North America, and we saw a couple countries join the South Chinese Union. So, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get started. So, in the months following the war or the North American War, uh, some revolts have quickly popped up in this colony, and they get to the point where uh, most most of the people are calling for uh, their own country, and eventually the sign team gives in and grants these people their freedom, which makes them, I believe, the third, if not fourth country to not have any colonies. First was the Dutch team. Then we also have Denmark, Korea. If you remember, Korea had this colony or they had a colony right here, and now the Cyan team. Technically, these two countries do still have colonies, so they have these two groups of islands. But other than that, I don't think any other colonial country. Oh, and India lost theirs. So they're the fifth. But alright, let's get to the next event. So we're gonna come down here now that everyone's kind of settling down again. The Great Depression is starting to end. The year is now 1926, by the way. And first war since the first this is about the first war in like 3 years probably. It's been about 3 years since the Danish Civil War, which was the last war. But we see the West French, or going back quite a few episodes ago, episode 19, the West French, they claimed over like all of this land, including Madagascar, and they're here to take some of that land. So we see them invading into this uh, goldish green country, and quite quickly they're able to take over two of their major cities. They move up to both of these two on the outskirts of both, and then they begin their second invasion into Madagascar, which, let's be honest, this is going to go much quicker. Already, two of two of their mainland major cities are already gone, and then these two islands out here also fall, and not long after that, this major city here falls as well. Let's put capitals on P. And real quick, let's go on to the religion map just to show these guys don't really have the same religion. Um, yeah. I mean, so like the colonial countries kind of like to enforce their religion. Some of them do. The most prominent country to enforce a religion is South China, which is like extremely enforcing the Korean religion. Uh, and somehow it's working as they are the second most stable country in the entire world. There's one country that is more stable, and that is this Tibetan-ish nation. But we'll get to them later. All right. So here we see this invasion continuing. Madagascar's like they've got some of their lands, and then their capital. It's not going good for them, especially them. But I'd say second, it's gonna get even worse for these guys. I say that because Tanzania will join this war only against these guys. They invade south. They invade south along this lake here, taking over a major city before using it to move east and taking over another major city and their capital, which obviously is a major city in itself. They then move south from the western part, taking over another two major cities, and a little somebody to their south isn't too happy about this. They claimed over this land, and they claim over like the southern part of Tanzania too. It's like I don't know. I don't think that's gonna go good for them though. Plus, not to mention, West France is a top 20 power. But we're gonna take a break from this war to go to another war breaking out. And this little war up here, it's got some history behind it as well. And you know it's got history behind it when we're talking on the trade routes layer. So you can see there aren't really many trade routes in Africa. You've got these ones in Egypt, and that's it. So, initially, back in about like 200-ish years ago, yes, about 200 years ago, there was a plan. There was a plan to build a trade route that went down to the capital of Tanzania. So I'm getting trade routes later for this. But this trade route was going to go something like this, run through here, through this purple team. It would reach down through the capital here, and then a branch of it would go along the coast like this. Then it would come down to these areas, and then through Tanzania to their capital. And then there was going to be another branch that went something like this, and just kind of hit the rest of the Ethiopian cities before also going into Tanzania, coming down here. And then there'd probably be like a branch there, there, and so on. But you get what I mean. So a little somebody that you probably see I specifically avoided, which is these guys. They weren't too happy with this. They were so unhappy, in fact, that they're still mad at Ethiopia for proposing this idea, and they decide to go to war with Ethiopia. And their invasion actually goes extremely well. They're able to cut Ethiopia up from its three pieces into four pieces, as they have the two exclaves right here. And it's not like those are going to last very long either, as well, somebody here wants to get involved in this war because somebody down here decided to get involved in this war. So once Kenya invades into Ethiopia, fix this. Don't know why sometimes it did that. So Kenya invades into Ethiopia as well. And not to mention, we also see the purple team gets or wants to get something out of this because obviously they have extremely erratic borders. So they move north And then everybody realizes something on this layer here. Triangle, triangle, cross. Triangle, cross. So they think they accidentally just activated the triangle and cross alliance. So they go through specifically Somali will go through every part of the um I guess not really a manual, but like the handbook or something, and all of the rules of the Triangle Alliance, find some kind of loophole, and then they're unsuccessful in that. So the Triangle Alliance is now activated against the Cross Alliance, and things are about to get very messy. It's almost as if World War II is about to break out. But then Somalia will pretty much, I mean, yell at the RPGAU and the Great Empire and say, don't activate the alliances. So we see Kenya, well, uh, or the RPGAU and the Great Empire will listen, except they still militarize the borders between the Triangle and Cross Alliances, even the Circle Alliance, which is extremely close with the Triangle Alliance, and the Square Alliance, which is close with the Cross Alliance. They will all militarize borders. And the only unmilitarized border between alliances is here with the Trapezoid Alliance and the Cross Alliance. And down here. But Ethiopia is also going to try and find a loophole to get them to win the war. And they do. These two little guys here, especially with Tanzania, is going to be a better one. They're not in alliances other than the economic alliance, but the IEO, the Indian Ocean Economic Order, uh, I just took that straight. Uh, the IEA, the IEA, Indian Ocean, or IOEA, Indian Ocean Economic Alliance. Uh, it does not give any country right to call all of the other members of the alliance into a war. So these two here, they're in some trouble now because they are, well, not Tanzania, but Ethiopia found something for Tanzania. But for these guys, they invaded Ethiopia, which activated the Cross Alliance. So, and since these guys aren't in any other alliance, they have ever to be invaded by this blue country in the Great Empire. Mostly by the Great Empire. It's not why. But for Tanzania, it's like Ethiopia is pretty much like, hey, West France and Catalonia, we know you guys have claims over these guys. So like if you can just invade them, that will really help us out because we know like they have a militarized border and they want to invade us. And them saying they want to invade us, definitely true. As Tanzania will begin marching through Ethiopia very quickly after this is all said and done. So now we see West France will decide to finish off Madagascar, and then they move in or they move all of their troops in to Tanzania. And Tanzania is now realizing they're cooked, so they're gonna move as far north as they can, and they will also like they'll make a hold off point right here, as well as right here, and then there's a backup one that's like right in there. So Tanzania withdraws all of its troops out of here, and then pretty much right afterwards, Tanzania or West France will come in and take all of it. So it didn't last long at all. So now Tanzania's plan is in action, and I guess the Tanzanian leader is extremely dumb. So West France, they're kind of held off right up in here, and they get up through a little bit, and then they realize, we've got a ton of navy right here. Let's just take over all of this because somebody decided not to supply or set up any defense right in here. So you see Tanzania begins invading its bordering nations. They take out a major city in this country, and soon after, they will start a march into the Somalians. And these guys just did not think anything through. So now we see them even further retreat up, and pretty much. Oops. So now we see Catalonia starts their invasion, and they'll kind of just say, we're just taking over all of this land, and we'll just supply West France. Even better, we'll take this from you. And what I mean, these guys are allied. These guys are pretty close. They'll just let it happen. It's just allowed to happen. And then West France will push up to right here. That off. And again, an extremely dumb decision by the Tanzanian government. I don't know about you, but this seems to be a nice little lake here. And right here, there happens to be a nice little largest naval or second largest naval port of Tanzania. So yeah, West France just takes over all those ships, and there's some troops right in here. There's troops right in here. So we'll just march on up to this. We'll sail on up to this major city, come around, and sneak attack these troops. And it's extremely successful, as we can see right here. And yeah, so these guys are like, Tanzania must have the lowest IQ of any country, because these were some really dumb decisions. And you want to know something even worse? They still didn't even fortify this area, this coastline over here, against a colonial power. So they're able to just push Tanzania all the way back to their capital, as well as this major city here is able to hold out. And then, obviously, the northern parts, which aren't going to last much longer either. But we see these troops continue to just push their way through. They even reach up to the capital of Kenya, taking it, which it's going to go extremely well for Ethiopia, who firstly will push back against Tanzania, then thank them, then invade them, taking over a major city in the process, and then push back against Somalia. They move up here, they take over all of this area up here. There is still a bit of harder fighting going on right here. However, the invasion of Somalia or the invasion of no, the invasion of Kenya begins, and quite quickly, four major cities are, or no, not even four. its 6 major cities are quickly captured. 6 because you have 2 up here and these 4 here, in case you were told. So, yeah, a little somebody's not having a very fun time. Or a couple somebodies aren't having a very fun time, as Tanzania is just gonna have to just straight up surrender. Oops, that does not happen. And then no, these guys, oh, dang it, they get anything right. These guys will just get their land back, and then both of them are completely pushed out of Ethiopia, as well as these guys, and especially with these guys, they're about to get absolutely destroyed. So Ethiopia invades them, takes over all of their African land, which does include their capital, obviously. I don't know if you guys can tell the difference. There's a very slight difference there. But I'm not gonna go. I might change the number that Ethiopia has for this because yeah, you know what? No. All right, Ethiopia is now slightly darker. I'm not using that other color. So, all right, and now they begin their invasion of this country here, which let's be honest, this is gonna be the easiest, especially now because they have the Great Empire. It's now beginning their invasion, and there's no way you're beating the Great Empire. Not even in the top 30, this country. It's not even in the top 30. That's not- So, yeah. You can probably see why this is happening. Not to mention also now West France is also invading. And it's not just invading them, no. They're of course invading Somalia as well, or Kenya as well, taking pretty much the lands that were already taken. And then these guys even get involved in this war. But they're obviously going to be on the side of Ethiopia because these two are like some of the closest two countries. These guys just make a naval landing and take over those two parts. And now the last remaining bits will both fall over to Ethiopia, and we'll take a look at a peace treaty. Alright, so here we have the peace treaty. It's actually extremely simple. So, only border change is like, well, the only border change that I actually had to draw is this right there, and otherwise, everything is going over to one of two countries. It's either West France or Ethiopia. So all of this goes to Ethiopia, including this part of Tanzania. And then everything else, actually, there's 3 countries. So all of this will go over to the yellow team. And then this right here goes over to the cyan. We're now the weakest and smallest country out of the war, in the entire war got land. or got more land than the strongest nation that was involved in the war, which is the number one in the world. But that's just how things worked. All right, so now we move on to our second event. No, fourth event. So yeah, those two wars that kind of merged into one. Right. So our next event is going to be over in Oceania, and it is in two parts of the entire map, literally on opposite sides. And pretty much all it is this Spanish nation here is just going to join this blue country. It is as simple as that. You know what? Sunlight. Alright, so all these capitals can get erased. And this one, and this one. And we move on to the next event. Or yeah, the next event. And this event is going to take place here in Europe as we see more countries emerge in the British Isles. Firstly, we see the yellow team releases its colony right here, and I'm doing later. Alright, so the yellow team releases this colony, and then they gift Scotland, the Isle of Man, and Ireland. But then Ireland decides to be picky, and they decide to say, no, we're going to be our own nation, actually. So, with the West French colony in Ireland, they will form their own nation, and then we see this is released as a country, and Ireland is going to get this, and then for whatever reason, Ireland was also going to gift this, or else Ireland is going to be gifted the Isle of Man. And I suppose we can give these guys or these countries capitals. I swear, I just thought of Focus Girl. Oh my god. Alright, so England is going to. Whoops. England is going to put their capital right there. Cornwall will put their capital right there, and Ireland's capital is going to be in this major city. Alright. But we have two events left for this episode. The first one being on the Alliance layer, which is an extremely complicated one, so all I'm going to do is say it, but I'll actually show you what happens, and or I'll actually do everything that I say in the next episode while I erase the uh, alliances from no longer existing countries. But the Circle and Trapezoid alliances are going to merge with the Triangle Alliance, and the Square Alliance will be merging with the Cross Alliance. So I'm actually going to do that in the next episode. But what I will actually show for this episode is this alliance right here. As they're getting split, they'll form the 4-point star economic alliance, which I almost want to call the AI economic alliance. You know what? In the comments, say if you want me to call this economic alliance the AN economic alliance. I don't know, I think it'd just be kind of funny. It's going to be formed between every country that will join with the with the Triangle Alliance. There is there are three countries with the Trapezoid Alliance that will not join with the Triangles, and those are these two African nations and the Caribbean nation. So if we have that happening, um, and then we'll do power rankings actually in a second, because we do have another event quickly happening And that is these three nations here unite. So quickly going to come back up here as all of these can be erased, just so it's easier for me. Right. So these, this country will be part of the Triangle Economic Alliance and the 3-point star economic alliance and the Triangle Military Alliance. And then I'll do everything for that later. Uh, and erase their, erase their capitals, because their new capital will be kind of by one of the countries with capitals. And it's in this major city right here. Alright, so now we do power rankings. For alliances, by the way, it's gonna go something like bye bye, bye bye, and bye bye. These two are going to remain in the same spot just because of something or what's about to happen. So, Greece, pretty much every country's rating. The ones that are going to remain the same are the top 5 countries. So it's the Great Empire in number 1, RPGAU in number 2, the South Chinese Union in number 3, which I'm just going to redraw, the Catalonians in number 4, and Russia in number 5. Alright. And there's like a really big gap between number 1, number 2, and number 3, by the way. Alright. So now we go to the rest of the power rankings. So I did not forget what I was just about to say on the spot. So number 6 obviously can't be Denmark anymore. There's no way Denmark's number 6. Number 6 is now Ethiopia. They're just that they're just that strong. No. I mean they were 11. They annexed the sixth strongest power, plus some land, or they didn't get land out of Tanzania, but they also annexed this country and another country out here. Uh, Neither of these two were really that technologically advanced, but they still got quite a lot out of that just because look at all these major cities they got. And they're more connected. They just got a whole lot. No, just we'll put it at that. All right, number 7 goes to these guys. 'Cause I forgot to erase this one, which is actually number 8. Number 9 goes to the to the Great Lakes Empire, and still not far behind is number 10 in America. 11 goes to the Cyan team, and 12 is Korea. So 13 I would give over to Germany. That's a big fat lie. These guys are 13, these guys are 14. These guys, they didn't really, like, these guys didn't really develop their militaries a whole lot since the last power rankings. Everybody else has been developing their military. Number 15 is also in Europe, as with number 16, which is made up of 3 countries that weren't in the top 20. Number 17, however, is not in Europe. It is this spring nation out here. And not far behind them is also in North America, in Mexico. Number 19, we come over to this to the like Baikal nation. And lastly, in number 20 is Finland. If you guys wanted to know, like for the 25, I'm not going to put it on here. But 21 goes over to China. 22 is Bangladesh. 23 is this blue country right here. 24 is Leningrad. And number 25 is India. But that will do it for today's episode of What If Civilization Started Over. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.